I read the Magnolia Parks series. I decided to make a whole reading vlog while I read Magnolia Parks. I just wanted to take you guys on my emotional roller coaster along with me. Literally, I was planning to film this reading vlog from when I first started reading Magnolia Parks, and unfortunately, not even unfortunately, depends how you look at it, I was so invested in the book, I couldn't bring myself to pick up the camera. So basically, Magnolia Parks is the first book in the entire series, and it is about Magnolia and BJ. Magnolia and BJ are a part of this friend group, and they are part of London's high society. The whole friend group, they grew up together, they basically raised each other. They all went to boarding school together. There's a lot of found family in this book. Magnolia Parks focuses on Magnolia and BJ's relationship, and they are basically childhood friends to lovers, or even childhood lovers, I would say. They both just have really unhealthy coping mechanisms. So it is a romance, but it's more of a toxic romance. That's the best way I can put it. It's not your typical fluffy romance. The book just goes back and forth. Will they be together? Will they not be together? And every time you think everything's going to be okay, something else happens and we're back at square one. Normally, I hate books like that. But for some reason, Jessa Hastings knows how to write something like that. I feel like there are tropes that can be horrible tropes, but sometimes it just takes the right author to write a trope that is typically not liked and write it really well. Jessa Hastings, phenomenal writer. I didn't film when I was reading Magnolia Parks, but then I started to film when I was reading Daisy Haites. And Daisy Haites is the second book in the Magnolia Parks universe. Basically, the books go from Magnolia Parks, Daisy Haites, Magnolia Parks: The Long Way Home, and then Daisy Haites: The Great Undoing. Those are just the books that are out right now. The second book, Daisy Haites, is about side characters from Magnolia Parks. Christian and Daisy. Christian is part of Magnolia's friend group. Daisy is someone who shows up, I think, in like 2 scenes in Magnolia Parks. And also Julian, who is Daisy's brother, and they grow up in this criminal business. I don't want to say too much more. I want you guys to just follow me along on my emotional roller coaster, my reactions, how I'm feeling, what I think about each book more in detail. Someone's deciding to do some construction above me, so enjoy. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So this video is gonna be like a reading Magnolia Parks type of vlog. I already read Magnolia Parks. I did want to film, and I just got so into the book that I never picked up the camera. I read it on my Kindle. It is on Kindle Unlimited, so I decided to just read it on my Kindle. But after like literally a quarter of the way into this book, I was like, I really want the physical copy. This was just so different because I was actually thinking a lot of my romance novels were becoming so repetitive and predictable that I wasn't really enjoying them as much. But to read something where people are going through like real life things that people debate in their minds, real life things that people go through, it was just so good to read. Like I said, I really got into the book that I didn't end up picking up the camera, but now I actually want to get through the rest of the series and talk about it while I'm reading it. Basically, to start with Magnolia Parks, it's about a guy and a girl who are like childhood lovers. They're just like super toxic with each other. They do things to one another. They like want to be together, but it's like they don't think it's gonna work. But then they're just like so drawn to each other, they can't let each other go. The ending, oh my gosh, it was just getting intense, and I could tell what was about to happen. I kind of way later in the book guessed what was going to be exposed. I was really debating on skipping Daisy Haites because I need to know what happened with Magnolia. Like, I need to know what's going to happen. I am now reading Daisy Haites, which is number 2 of the Magnolia Parks universe. This book, however, is about 2 side characters from Magnolia Parks, and right now I'm 34% in. This book, it is still good. I still like this one. The only thing is I find that it just feels a little bit slower than Magnolia Parks. I feel like Magnolia Parks, like so much was going on like all the time, but this book, it's like a steady or like slower pace book. I'm on chapter 26, so I'm gonna read because my toddler is sleeping. just wanted to say a couple things. Number one, there's a huge difference with this book when it comes to the other one. Like I said, with the writing, I find the writing a little bit slower, more steady. And then also in this book, there's 3 point of views, whereas Magnolia Parks was just 2. It was BJ and Magnolia. In this point of view, it's Christian, Daisy, and Julian. Julian and Daisy are siblings. In Daisy's point of view, there's always like these footnotes. So like she'll have a thought and then she'll have like a secondary thought, almost as if you're getting like deeper in her mind. The footnotes get a little bit annoying, like being on the Kindle and like pressing the footnotes, especially because she has a lot of footnotes in some chapters. As a mom, I have some responsibility. My daughter's up, so I have to get up and stop reading for a bit. I'm gonna read again later before I go to bed. I can't believe I'm coming on camera looking like this right now. The main thing that's frustrating, like I can understand like Daisy and Christian, at least like where I am right now, I understand why they are like reluctant to accept their feelings and stuff. But let me say, Daisy's ex-boyfriend, I'm so tired of reading her point of view where she excuses what he did. And I'm gonna keep comparing this to Magnolia Parks. Magnolia never really excused BJ for what he did. She was just having a hard time with the idea of getting back with him because of what he did with Daisy and her ex's situation. What he did, there are a few times within this book that she's like, oh, it wasn't a big deal. Girl, please, there's no way you actually think that. There's so many times in the book that she says it doesn't matter or she's overreacting. Girl, you ain't overreacting. If anything, I think you're underreacting. Okay, friends, I have finished Daisy Haites. So for starters, while I was reading this book, I was so convinced that I was gonna rate it a 3, but I ended up rating it a 4 because it actually got a lot better around the 50% mark. I feel like when you're going through a book that has 3 point of views, it can feel a little bit long. It feels like nothing's happening yet because you're dealing with so many different people's backstories, trying to understand why they think the way they do, why they behave the way they do, and all of that stuff. It ended up picking up around the 50% mark and I really enjoyed it. I'm only on book 2, but I'm really realizing that the thing that's so unique about Jessa Hastings' writing is she can really write emotions, if you get what I mean. Like if you read her books, you understand what I mean. Let me give you an example. There's a part in the book when Daisy is going through something. She feels super broken and she's being comforted by her brother Julian. She's like, mostly he just lays next to me on his phone, but occasionally he'll glance over and give me a sad smile and kiss me on the forehead. And it doesn't sound like much, I know, but if my heartbreak was a fever, my brother is the cool cloth they'd lay on my forehead. I'm sorry, what? Like, is that not so sweet? Sometimes reading about relationships that are not just romantic are so beautiful to me. I really cannot wait to start Magnolia Parks: A Long Way Home. I'm back. By the way, don't mind, we have all this folded laundry over there. I didn't realize this and I don't know if I mentioned it before, but basically in the Daisy Haites book, there is a chapter at the very end and it's from Magnolia's point of view. This is pretty much right after the end of Magnolia Parks. I thought this was just like a little glimpse into the next book, like a sample. You know how sometimes books will give you like the first chapter of the next book? I don't think this is what it is, because when I looked at Magnolia Parks: A Long Way Home, this was not the same chapter at the very beginning, and I'm just feeling so many emotions reading this. I love Tom. I loved Tom all throughout Magnolia Parks and I never see anyone talk about him. The emotions I'm feeling right now just reading this, and I haven't even gotten to the actual book yet. Like, oh my gosh, I have no words, like absolutely no words. I don't even know if I can start reading this book now because I just feel so hurt after what I just read. I feel personally victimized. Look what came in. It looks like I'm gonna eat this up. I am so excited to read this. Daisy Haites 2 will be here soon as well, and I'm so excited to have all of the books. I need to get the first 2 now because I don't know what it is, but the spine is just so pretty to me. The back of the books are really nice. Like, I don't know what it is, but these are just so different to me. I don't know if I'm mentally ready to start this book right now. back with a little update. My daughter's sleeping. I'm trying to be as loud as possible. I'm not that far in the book. I'm not even halfway yet, but I have a lot to say. For one, I need to say I love BJ. I really like him now. I feel the love between the both of them a lot more in this book than I did in the first one. In the first one, we were kind of getting to know their behaviors with each other, I guess you can say. We did kind of understand that they loved each other, but I feel like you get to understand it a lot more here. You're really understanding the backstory more than just how they treat each other and the one thing that made them stop being together. Of a crier when I read books, but I definitely want to cry because I can't even say exactly why, but I want to cry. When I read Daisy Haites, I did not like Julian in that book. I didn't dislike him, but I didn't like him very much. But I will say I really liked him in this book. Like, he showed up in The Long Way Home quite often, and I did like him in this book. I'm definitely excited to get into Daisy Haites. I just read the first page, and the first page explains like what happens in this book, and I just had all these memories come back to me. Now I do think that Magnolia Parks A Long Way Home and Daisy Haites' Great Undoing are going to connect a little bit more. In The Long Way Home, Julian showed up a lot. He was a big part of the book, honestly. I think there's going to be a lot of things that were unanswered in Magnolia Parks A Long Way Home that are answered in this book, because there were moments with Julian or things involving him that weren't really answered, and I really think we're gonna get that in this book. Daisy and Magnolia were becoming a bit of friends in The Long Way Home, and I think it does say that their friendship's gonna grow in this book. So I'm excited because they're very opposite. They are not the same whatsoever. So I'm excited to see Magnolia because I actually like her. I think she's funny. I'm really excited. But once I finish this book, I have no other like Magnolia Park Universe book to read anymore, so that's gonna be really sad. And I think the only way I'm gonna cope is by buying the physical copies and annotating them and taking my Kindle notes and putting them in the physical book. That's how you hold on to things, and that doesn't sound healthy. I sound like BJ and Magnolia, not being able to let go. Hello friends, I don't know how many days later it is. I am on page 209. At the beginning of this book, it was kind of slow. I do think a lot of the things that happened at the beginning of the book had to be described and told to kind of bring the story together, I guess. And I also realized that I forgot a lot that happened in the first Daisy Haites, so it was kind of hard for me to also remember like Daisy and Christian's relationship and kind of remember like their dynamic or their chemistry. So I wasn't really caring about Christian and Daisy's chemistry at the beginning of this one. It was hard for me to kind of feel that like angst or feel that longing type of feeling that Christian was having at the beginning of this one. In this book, we're learning a lot about Julian. He's known to not really like tie himself down to anyone because he finds it dangerous if he does. He's basically in denial of how he's feeling throughout this entire book. Well, at least, like I said, I'm only on page 209. The way that he talks about her is so beautiful. He is down bad. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but Julian, he's an art thief. He really has this appreciation and love for art. He describes or like compares his feelings for this girl to a lot of art. I have underlines here, I have underline here, because he just keeps describing her in this beautiful way of art. She steals your focus even first thing in the morning. Art does that to you, so does her face. Hello friends, I have officially finished Daisy Haites 2. I finished Daisy Haites. Not gonna lie, around some point I was like, okay, this book could end, like what more can happen? Completely forgetting the things that were talked about in Magnolia Parks A Long Way Home. And it definitely went a whole lot of other places. Like it all just tied together really well. I'm really excited for this series to continue. I definitely ended this book feeling brokenhearted. I went through this book feeling brokenhearted. Julian. I officially love Julian. To be honest, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like this book should have been called Julian Haites rather than Daisy Haites, because this book just unwraps so much about Julian. Julian was the best part of this book. He carried this entire book. Daisy and Christian, most of the time their relationship was just like, it's cute, whatever. Like I'm not attached to them as a couple. They did feel a little bit like side characters, or at least Christian felt a little bit more like a side character. It's weird because when Daisy and Christian are actually like going through things, they're more interesting than when they are happy, which sounds so bad. Their chemistry, sometimes I feel it, sometimes I don't. Absolutely love Daisy and Magnolia's relationship. You can really feel that friendship and their bond, because they have a lot of things they can relate to each other on. It's the great undoing of my heart as I know it. Now that sentence will never be the same for me. Like I read it so many times reading the back, and now the sentence will just like hit me so different. After reading The Long Way Home and then reading The Great Undoing, I can't even imagine what the next book is going to be like, because they both end on cliffhangers, but they're ending on cliffhangers of things happening around the same time. I'm also really sad to know that I'm not going to be picking up a Jessa Hastings book, at least a brand new one, for a while. To wrap things up, this entire series alone is a 5 stars. I've loved so many books, but there's just something about these ones and the quotes in here. Jessa Hastings, thank you so much. You watched and got through the whole thing. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed going through this emotional roller coaster with me. If you like this video, please give it a like, and please subscribe if you're not subscribed already. I will see you in the next video.